Let me ask, first of all, no governor has had to deal with a crisis like this probably since the ice storm of '98 when Governor King was in office. And of course, that was more within our ability to control and rebuild and was going to be something temporary. This is very different. How hard is it to manage all this?
Well, for one thing, I am appreciating more every day, every hour of the quality of people around me, their energy, their determination. Nobody has cowered in a corner and said, I can't do this. Everybody has said, not what I can't do, but what can I do to help? That goes for all of the commissioners, all 15 department heads, and the staff people in this office who have really turned to. You know, it's not a simple thing to draft emergency orders, executive orders, and we've been trying to give it a great deal of thought every time we do this. Nobody runs for governor thinking they're going to have to declare a state of civil emergency. Nobody. And nobody runs for governor thinking that they're ever going to issue a massive executive order that basically deprives people of their freedom, the basic freedom of movement. And it's just not a normal thing. And there's nothing really, quote unquote, right about it, but it is absolutely necessary. And I think we all know that. It's, you know, taken me, each step of the way has taken me a lot of thought and a lot of research before I took that step. I've issued 18 executive orders just in the last 16, 17 days. And so that's almost one a day. I mean, dealing with everything from licensing of medical professionals who've retired or who are in another state to, you know, stay-at-home order, and the ones dealing with the big box stores and businesses operating, whether they're essential or non-essential. Even if they're essential, we're telling them how to operate, not just saying you can do business as usual. And these things have taken a lot of input from the private and public sector on all fronts.
Governor, let me ask you, we've had some reports of various people, and probably not a lot, but some people shouting at or harassing drivers with out-of-state license plates. They're concerned, as many are, that people are coming here and maybe using our services. Are you concerned about reports like that? I have said publicly, and I'm saying it again in writing shortly, that we are discouraging people coming back to Maine or coming here in the first instance without quarantining themselves for 14 days. This virus can spread in a great number of ways. At the same time, you know, I heard reports from places like Eastport where somebody said they were following a car with out-of-state plates, and the person stopped and said, I'm with the Coast Guard, for crying out loud. I have my own personal car. I've been here for a year. I live here. But my car is allowed to have the plates from my original state. Don't make assumptions about people inside a vehicle just because they have an out-of-state plate. Some of those are rental cars. Some of them are nurses and doctors who are working here from out of state. So I don't want to make any, I don't want people to be biased, making any assumptions about people from out of state. You have asked in your request for a disaster declaration from the federal government to include money to pay for the National Guard. How do you anticipate using the Guard? Would it be, for example, as some states have done, to stop out-of-state cars that are coming across the border, to speak to them and tell them what it is you want them to do?
We have more urgent needs and uses for the National Guard. We anticipate them being used as they have been in other states, more predominantly, to help set up alternative care sites, for instance, to help monitor testing sites, even directing traffic at places where there might be quick turnaround testing sites, things like that.
How do you, state programs and payrolls depend on tax revenues. Tax revenues are clearly have to be down. Are you concerned about, first of all, being able to meet payrolls and pay the bills? And are you worried that this is all going to snowball and either lead to budget cuts or tax increases?
In the immediate sense, we have enough working capital to pay the bills. We also have the highest level of the highest amount in the stabilization fund than it's ever been at before. It's $257 million.
and have been given the legal authorization to use $11 million in the COVID fund, COVID monies set aside, and another $1 million for COVID monies. But we're also anticipating revenues from the federal government. We're not sure what strings will be tied to that money yet. We're being told that the Department of Treasury will allocate them to the states and that they'll be to pay expenses related to the COVID-19 virus mitigation efforts and not to supplant budget items, which is kind of confusing because honestly, if your revenues are down, your budget is down, those expenses that you ordinarily meet are reduced because of the COVID-19 virus. So we've been discussing this on the calls with the other governors, and we're all of one mind that the federal government shouldn't be too stingy with those funds.
We've seen an enormous spike in requests for unemployment insurance once again,
Yes.
and I know we've talked about how difficult it is to process all of those. How is that coming? How quickly can people expect to get the help that they need?
Well, first, we don't have the guidance from the federal government, so people are calling now based on the Congress's actions of last week, which did expand unemployment benefits to a large number of people, and with an added $600 a week for 16 weeks. But we have not yet received the guidance for implementation of those new benefits. So people are rushing to the phones and on the internet and online, and we don't always have answers for them. In addition, the state government, thanks to the legislature, passed emergency legislation that waives the 7-day waiting period. That was our request, and that allows temporary furloughed people on a temporary leave of absence, to apply for and receive unemployment benefits. We're processing those now. But we never expected a jam of like 46,000 claims in such a short time. We're used to maybe 1,500 a week, including ongoing claims, and 600, including 600 or so new claims a week. This is unprecedented. We have beefed up the department, gone from 13 people to more than 30-something people just processing unemployment claims. They're working all weekend. We urge people not to call by phone, but to go online and to wait with any questions. Prioritize your claim, prioritize your communication with the Department of Labor so we can process as many as we can. I think about $6 million went out the door just the other day in unemployment claims. They are getting through the process, but they're stalled in part because of the federal government's guidance lacking.
We have new restrictions in place as of today that you issued a couple of days ago. We've seen and heard a lot of gripes from people about what essential businesses should be. I'm sure you've had a ton of them. Is the list too broad? Some say landscapers, yacht builders, for example. How do you decide what's essential?
Well, first of all, almost all the states, as far as I know, the states adopted the federal designation of essential versus not essential. So that's basically incorporated into my order of the other day, what's essential and non-essential. But even the so-called essential businesses, we are trying to give them guidance about how to do what they do safely. I mean, take the stores, for instance. We've been talking to grocery stores, a number of them just today, and the big box stores, and asking them to cap the number of customers. That was part of my order the other day. It was a recommendation last week. Now it's part of the order. So even those businesses that are labeled essential, they need to do it. They need to conduct their business, their transactions in a very safe way, mindful of the distancing, sanitation issues, and the like.
Generally, let's wrap up with this. How do you think Maine people are handling this so far?
It's difficult for me because I'm not out there, like nobody else is out there either, except you and your cameras. So I'm staying at home pretty much. I live across the street, so I'm lucky. But what I'm hearing from people, and we get messages every day, all day long, some really gratifying messages about staying safe and how people are grateful that hopefully they'll be able to save a life. And our message is just, we've all got to be patient and courageous in this unprecedented time, and do your part, stay apart. That's our simple message. I know, I'm glad my kids are all grown up, because if they were in the house with me right now, I'd probably be going stir crazy. But to those with children at home, I just say, look, give them a hug every day. Don't let them go to bed without you're telling them that they are loved. It's so important for them to feel secure in these times as much as any time.
All right, Governor Mills, thanks so much for your time. Go
Thank
wash
you,
your hands
Pat.
now.
Oh, every day. 20 seconds, a long time.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Lindsay. Appreciate it.